November 2020, paper 2, variant 3. Question 1 is cancelled. Okay, micrometer screw gauge has been moved. Question 2, object P moves at a constant speed of 5 meters per second, repeatedly backwards and forwards in a straight line. Object Q moves at a constant speed of 5 meters vertically downwards. Object R moves at a constant speed of 5 meters per second in a circle. Which objects are moving with uniform velocity? Uniform velocity means that you have a constant speed and a constant direction. P keeps on changing its direction, keeps on moving backwards and forwards, so P is wrong. Q, constant speed vertically downwards, so speed and direction are constant. R, it's moving in a circle, so the direction keeps on changing. So the only one moving with a uniform velocity is Q. What is the acceleration of this object? Can I find the acceleration? Yes, V minus U over T. Or the, basically, you need to find the slope. Can I find the slope? Yes, 20, 0, and 120 and 40. So 120 minus 20 divided by 40 minus 0, right? Which is 2.5 meters per second squared. Which quantity is weight an example of force? An object of mass 1 kilograms is at rest on Earth. An identical object is at rest on a planet with a gravitational field strength twice that on Earth. Which row correctly compares the object on the planet and to the object on the Earth? The weight on the planet, isn't it twice that on Earth? Yes, it is. So the weight would double, right? The weight would double. What about the acceleration when the same horizontal force is applied? Same horizontal force. So if you're pushing something forwards, force equals ma. You need to find the acceleration. It would be F over m, right? Same horizontal force. Has it changed? No, it has not changed. Has the mass changed? No, it's the same. Therefore, the force or the acceleration would be the same. Again, I'm talking about the horizontal force. I'm not talking about the vertical force or the weight. I'm talking about the horizontal force. So if you have the same horizontal force, then you'd have the same acceleration. A square wooden raft floats on a lake. The density of the water is 1,000. The size of the raft are 2. The thickness is 0.2. The mass is 700 kilograms. How many barrels, each of mass 100 kilograms, could be placed on the raft before its surface sinks into the surface of the water? So first of all, I need to find the volume of this raft, right? I need to find the volume of the raft. The volume, this is a square wooden, so it's 2 by 2 by 0.2. So the volume would be 2 times 0.2, which is 4 times 0.2 or 0.8, right? Okay, so this is the volume. Volume equals 0.8. Now, the mass of the raft is already 700 kilograms, isn't it? Yes, 700 kilograms. So 700 mass over volume over 0.8. It's still floating, isn't it? Yes, 700 divided by 0.8 is 875, right? So it's still floating. The density of the water is 1,000. If you add barrels of 100 kilograms, so let's start off by adding one barrel. If I add one barrel, then the total mass would be 800 divided by 0.8. What's 800 divided by 0.8? This would be 1000, which means that it will start sinking. It would start sinking. So you can only add one barrel. That's all you can add. You cannot add 7 or 8. If you chose 7 or 8, you forgot about the total mass of the raft. You have to add the total mass of the raft. Question 7. Diagram shows a car moving along a road. The force due to the engine is 1500. The total drag force is 200. What's happening to the motion of the car? Isn't the driving force greater than the Resisting forces, yes, it is greater. So the car is accelerating or the speed is increasing. Diagram shows a trolley used to transport a load of 400 newtons. So you have a load of 400 newtons. A vertical force, okay, downwards, is needed to balance the trolley as seen. What is the value of this F? Can I find the value of F? Yes, I can find the value of F. Due to the moment, you need to balance it. So F times perpendicular distance would be F times perpendicular distance. The force times the unknown force times the perpendicular distance all the way to the pivot is what? Huh, is 40 because you need the perpendicular distance. This is 90 degrees. So F times 40 would be equal to 400 times what? Times 15. Again, 90 degrees. 400 times 15. So if you divide by 40, this will give you a force of 150 newtons. A mass of, okay, a ball of mass m falls vertically and hits the surface. Its speed on hitting the surface is v1. It rebounds vertically upwards with the speed of v2. What is the change of momentum? What is the change of momentum? If you chose D, it would be wrong. Why? Because as it moves upwards or downwards, the velocity changes, the direction changes. One of these has to be positive. One of them has to be positive. Okay, so if you say, for example, V2 is positive or V1 is positive and the other one has to be negative, for example, so V2, instead of saying MV minus MU, it would be MV minus MU or plus MU. So it's C. An object of mass 4.5 kilograms is traveling at 7 meters per second. How much kinetic energy does the object have? Half mv squared. Half times 4.5 times 7 squared, which is almost 110 joules. A number of ways in which we use energy are listed, in which is the ultimate source of energy, not the sun. Not the sun. Which of these energy provided by a horse to pull a cart? Isn't this also due to the sun? Again, the horse eats food which depends on photosynthesis, for example, or whatever. So no, it depends on the sun. Energy provided by hydroelectric generators. Again, water depends on the sun. Water cycle. Energy provided by nuclear power station. Nuclear energy, does it depend on the sun? No, it does not depend on the sun. To calculate the power produced by a force, the size of the force must be known. What else needs to be known to calculate the power? If you want to find the power, what do you need? Do I need the distance moved? Yes, force times distance will give me the work done. Do I need the time? Yes, power equals energy over time. A student calculates the pressure at point X. Student takes 4 measurements: liquid temperature, depth, surface area. Which measurements must the student use in her pressure calculation to find the pressure? What do you need? Do you need the density? Yes, you do need the density. Temperature? No. Depth? Yes. Surface area? No. So only 1 and 3. Question 14 is cancelled. Question 15. A student splashes water on her face. Here are 3 statements about the effects. Which statements are correct? Which statements are correct? The water uses energy to evaporate. Yes, it does. Water gains energy from the student. Again, yes, it does. The face of the student cools due to the evaporation. So P, Q, and R. Equal volumes of solids and liquids experience different changes of volume when they are heated through the same temperature range. What is the reason for this? Can I find the reason for this? Yes, I can. The average increase in separation of the particles in a liquid is greater than the average increase in separation of those in a solid. Isn't this true? It is true, right? If you think about it, the increase of separation in particles in liquid is greater than solid, yes, because of the forces are weaker, the distances are already larger, so this would be true. The volume, when you increase the volume of a liquid, it would increase significantly greater than a solid. Which physical property? This question is cancelled because the liquid and glass thermometer has been removed. But to understand it, what changes with temperature is the volume due to what? Due to the expansion, thermal expansion. Latent heat has been removed, so we'll cancel out this question. Diagram shows the view of the room. Okay, which row about the air temperature and the air density at x and y is correct? Where is the higher temperature? The higher temperature would be at x. Why? Because it's just above the radiator. Where would the air density be higher? Definitely not at x. Why? Because as you increase the temperature, the volume increases, and that's why it rises up. But then as it cools down, the temperature drops, so the density increases. It would be higher at y. Hmm. A warm, dark-colored surface emits radiation. It is decided to increase the amount of radiation produced. Three suggestions are made. Which ones are correct? Which of these suggestions are correct? Make the surface hotter. Color the surface white. Increase the area of the surface. I need to increase the amount of radiation. Increase the amount of. So if it's hotter, would that be correct? Yes, it would be. If I color it white, no, that would be wrong. To decrease the amount of radiation, increase the area, yes. So 1 and 3. Which row correctly describes light waves? Are they longitudinal? No, they are not. They are transverse and they travel perpendicular to the direction of the wave travel. Water wave has a speed of 2 meters per second. 4 complete waves pass every 10 seconds. What is the wavelength? First of all, I need to find the frequency, which would be the number of waves over the time. Number of waves is 4 over the time 10, which is 0.4 hertz. Can I find the wavelength? The wavelength would be equal to the speed over the frequency. So the speed is 2 divided by the frequency 0.4, giving you a wavelength of 5 meters. A driver sits in a car. She has a rear view plane mirror 0.5 meters in front of her. So the plane mirror is 0.5 meters, okay? 0.5 meters in front of her. A bus is 7.5 meters behind her. So the bus is 7.5 meters behind her. The driver looks at the image of the bus in her mirror. How far is the image away from her? How far is the image away from her? If you say 7.5, I'd understand it, but it's wrong. Why? Because 7.5 is the distance from the driver to the bus, which is wrong. Again, think about it. You have the driver and then you have the mirror in front of her, right? She's looking to the mirror. So we need to find the distance between her and the image, which is inside the mirror. The image inside the mirror. The image of the bus inside the mirror would be 8 meters from the mirror, right? The image of the bus inside the mirror would be 8 meters inside the mirror. Why? Because the bus is 8 meters away from the mirror. Do not forget about this 0.5 meter distance. So the bus is actually what? The bus is actually 8 meters from the mirror. And the driver is 0.5 meters away from the mirror. So if you think about it, the total distance would be 0.5 plus 0.5 plus 7.5, giving you a total distance of 8.5 meters. Okay, again, the bus is not 7.5 meters away from the mirror. No, it's 8 meters away from the mirror, and the driver is 0.5 meters away from the mirror. So 8 plus 0.5 is 8.5 meters. Diagram shows white light passing through a prism. Which description of what happens as the light passes into the prism is correct? What happens? The speed of the red light is less than the speed of the... No, it's actually greater. Speed of the red light is greater, okay, than the speed of the white light, and the red light is the least refracted. Yes, the red light is the least refracted. That's why it's above the violet. This is correct. Which quantities increase in magnitude going from left to right? Going from left to right. Increase in magnitude, so frequency only, right? Frequency only. A sound wave travels through air. What is the name given to the region where the molecules are further apart? Further apart, rarefaction. A police car with its siren sounding is stationary in heavy traffic. A pedestrian notices that although the loudness does not change, pitch varies. What happens to the amplitude and the frequency? So if the loudness does not change, then the amplitude is constant. If the pitch is varying, then the frequency is also varying. A piece of steel is slightly magnetized. Okay, so this is removed. Magnetization and demagnetization. Question 29 is also removed because you're no longer required to study charging by induction. Okay, charging by induction has been removed. Electromotive force is defined in terms of energy supplied. Which physical quantity in driving which physical quantity around a complete circuit? Driving what around a complete circuit? Driving a coulomb. Uh, driving a coulomb or a charge around a complete circuit. A student uses 4 ammeters, P, Q, and R. Which 2 ammeters read the largest current? The largest current would be the closest to the battery, P and Q. 3 statements about relay are given. Which statements are correct? A relay has a coil that becomes a temporary magnet when in operation. Okay, this seems correct. A large current in a relay is used to switch off a... No, it's actually the other way around. Okay, a small current is used to switch on a large current. A small current, yes. So only 1 and 3 are correct. 33 is cancelled. 34. Which changes can be made so that the generator produces graph y? So if it was originally x, how can I produce y? Decrease the magnetic field. No. Increase the magnetic field and decrease the number of coils. No. Increase the number of coils only, or by increasing the speed of rotation only. Actually, if you increase the speed of rotation only, it would be sufficient to increase the magnitude and to increase the frequency. Increasing the speed increases the magnitude of the output and increases the frequency. So 34 is D. 35, a transformer is needed to convert a supply of 240 to 4,800. Which pair of coils would be suitable? This is a step-up transformer, right? A step-up transformer, so we can cancel out C and D. Let's see. The equation is VP over, or you can say NP over NS would be equal to VP over VS, which is 240 over 4,800. Which of these would be equal to 240 over 4,800, which is 0.05, right? 0.05. If you calculate 50 over 1,000, this would be 0.05, not 0.05, 0.05, which is correct. So it's A. The diagram shows a wire carrying current. There is a magnetic field. The wire experiences a force out of the page, right? Force out of the page. The current is now reversed. In which direction does the force now act? It would be into the page. It's that easy. Do not need to use Fleming's left-hand rule at all. Which statement is correct for the nucleus of any atom? Nucleus of any atom. Nucleus contains electrons. Wrong. Nucleus contains the same number of protons as neutrons. Wrong. Total charge of zero. Wrong. Nucleus is very small compared to the size of the atoms. How many protons and how many neutrons are in the nucleus? You have 90 protons, and the number of neutrons would be 234 minus 90. Which statement about gamma rays is correct? Gamma rays. They are deflected. They are deflected. They are not deflected. Okay, they are not deflected, definitely. Which equation represents beta decay of lead? So one and A and B are wrong. A and B are wrong. Why? Because the beta or the electron should be on the other side of the arrow. Should be on the other side of the arrow. Now, lead is 82. It should produce something with a greater proton number. Proton number should increase. It should be 83, not 81. So it is C. Okay.